Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of The Surfer's Journey. In my last video, I spoke about the most commonly performed mistake from a beginner surfer. But in today's video, we're going to have a look at all the mistakes that beginner surfers might be making. Maybe you're making them, but in this video, I'll show you how to fix them. And guys, if you're new here, please subscribe to the channel now. I've been fortunate to help many of my friends learn how to surf, and I've seen a few common mistakes come up time and time again. So today I want to address these mistakes that are often made by people learning to surf. We'll show you what those mistakes are and what you can do to fix them. Choosing the right surfboard is key for any beginner surfer to have success, and often people go wrong here. They're not really sure what kind of board they need to be riding, but this is what we want. We want a long board, whether it's foam or whether it's made from a normal PU construction. We're looking for a long board, something that is at least 8 foot long, that is wide, that is thick. These boards provide a lot of buoyancy and a lot of stability, which makes it easy to paddle and easier to stand up. It also means that when the waves are this small, we'll still be able to be pushed along by that wave because of the increased buoyancy. If we have a look at this board here, this is a 5.2. Now this is at the other end of the scale. Boards like this are incredibly responsive and they're less buoyant, which makes it harder to paddle, and it means they're less forgiving. So if you make a mistake and you put too much weight on your toes or maybe too much weight on your heels, you're going to pay for it. Now later on in your surfing career, boards like this are great because you want them to be responsive and you want them to be reactive to everything you do. But when we're learning, we need to have boards that are buoyant and stable. So let's go for boards that are at least 8 foot long. Foam or PU, it doesn't matter. Go for stability, which will equal more success. The next common mistake is people surfing at beaches they really shouldn't be. So to help avoid this, we can go to our local surf shop and we can have a chat with them about where we should be surfing as a beginner surfer. And then once you arrive at that beach, you need to do a pre-surf analysis. We want to make sure that the beach has a sand bottom, that the waves are an appropriate height, that there are no rips or no strong currents that day. And these are the waves we want. We want soft, foamy, whitewater waves. We don't want to surf at beaches like this, where there are rocks everywhere, and what lies beneath the surface is equally important. We don't want to surf over rocks or reef. The next common beginner mistake is paddling with incorrect technique. If you paddle with incorrect technique, you're going to pay for it when you go to take off. In this example here, we see this surfer who was too far on the right side of her board and she fell off. Here we see another surfer that was too far forward and he nosedived and consequently fell off as well. Another common mistake is not paddling hard enough. Now if you do that, you won't be able to get picked up by the wave and it will simply roll on without you. Or you can try and stand up, but the wave won't actually be pushing you along and you'll fall off because of lack of speed. So we must remember to paddle hard. Don't stop paddling until that wave is pushing you along. And when it comes to positioning, we need to be centered. We want that stringer down the middle of our chest, and we don't want to be too far forward or too far back on the board. It takes some practice to get this right. There are some common mistakes that happen with the pop-up, and without a successful pop-up, you can't experience what it's like to ride a wave. So we need to get this right. In this example here, we see this surfer who had her hands too far forward. So when she went to take off and pop up, her hands were so far forward that she couldn't get the adequate chest lift that she needed to bring her legs through. Let's have a look at a good example of a pop-up. Here we see the surfer stop paddling when the wave's pushing him along. He puts his hands underneath his chest and lifts up. His hands are flat on the deck of the board. By lifting up his chest, he gives himself room to bring his legs through. So that high chest lift is key during the pop-up. And don't feel like you have to rush it. Take your time. One thing a lot of beginner surfers aren't aware of is that they need to put wax on their board. Without it, your board will be so slippery, there's no way you'll be able to take off. So to wax your board, just start with small circles. We want to go to almost the rails of your surfboard and go high up on the board and then go far back as well. There's no real limit to this, it doesn't really matter. As long as you don't put wax on the rails, you'll be doing fine. And I would recommend putting more than you think. Next, we must wear a leg rope. And the leg rope goes on your back foot. If you can't remember which leg is your front leg or which one is your back leg, use your dominant leg as your back leg. Another key thing is to make sure that the leg rope actually points away from your body. And when you're walking with your surfboard, make sure you hold your leg rope like this. This will stop you from any embarrassing trips or falls. Where we put our feet on our surfboard will have a huge impact on how much success we have. It'll really affect your balance. As we can see here, this surfer has taken off and her feet are probably too close together. But what happens is her front foot actually starts to rotate. So usually that front foot is about 45 degrees, but you can see here that hers is starting to go closer to even 10 degrees at this point. Her feet then come closer together and now she's lost all her balance and control and she falls. This is an example of a common foot position. You can notice that it's almost 45 degrees and the stringer would be running straight through the middle of my foot. And when we talk about width, your feet should be about shoulder width apart. This will help give you more control. Now, in addition to where we put our feet, we also need to think about the way we actually stand. The taller we stand and the more extended we are, the less control and the less balance we're going to feel. And you can see in those examples that surfer fell as she extended. Here, she's still relatively low and she's got more control. But as she starts to extend, you'll see that she starts to lose her balance and ultimately ends up falling. So the position that we're looking for is a slight squat and a slight leaning forward. Like this here is pretty perfect. Looking and pointing towards the beach, because where you look and where you point is where you're going to go. Never surf alone, especially when you're learning. By having a friend with you, you can look out for each other. You can help push each other onto the waves and give each other feedback. And if anything goes wrong, you'll be able to look out for each other. One of the most dangerous mistakes that beginner surfers make is bailing their board like this. You shouldn't even be in this situation. But if you are, by bailing your board like this, your board could become a projectile and end up hitting surfers around you. When you're learning to surf, you only need to be in about waist deep water like this. This will provide perfect opportunity for you to catch these white water, fluffy waves. Any deeper than that, and you're gonna have to start to learn how to duck dive and negotiate the waves. One common beginner mistake is dropping in. Beginner surfers don't really know what surfing etiquette is. If we have a look at this example here, you can see that I took off closest to the breaking section of the wave. And this surfer here has dropped in on me. And that's bad etiquette. When you're learning to surf, often you're just taking off and going straight, so it doesn't really matter, but it's something to be aware of in the future. I'll be making a more detailed video on surfing etiquette very soon. Guys, thanks for watching the video today. I hope that now you understand what some of those mistakes are. Maybe if you're making them, you'll know how to fix them. And once you can fix them, you can focus on improving and progressing. Remember to like the video and comment below to let me know what other videos you'd like to see.